Hey everyone, great to see you. As always, put your name in the chat, where you're coming in from. Oh, I think I see some new people. Welcome, welcome. If you're new, raise your hand if you want to share before we get started. Hi, I saw you, Val. I'm looking forward to getting to know who you are. I was speaking directly to you. So great. Looks like we've got some new folks. So please put in the chat your name, where you're coming in from. And so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jodie Evans. I'm one of the co-founders of CODEPINK and the person who kind of came up with the local peace economy project concept and pulled the book together and the website together. But it's, it's old wisdom, it's indigenous wisdom, it's how life has survived for millennia. It's just finding our way back. Looks like Lynn is playing some music for us to get started. Thanks, Lynn. So we're just gonna wait a couple of minutes. While we're waiting, I'm gonna tell you a little story about yesterday, just because I came up with a new word. So we were doing an action at an agency in Los Angeles in Beverly Hills. It's called William Morris Endeavor. It's Ari Emanuel. He's Rahm Emanuel's brother, very, very, very Zionist. Everyone there Zionist. We heard from someone who worked there that if you're not Zionist, they can only have 18% of the company can be non-Zionists, and they can never have a senior position. So it's, a Zionist stronghold in a Zionist stronghold, because Beverly Hills just did a vote that they're little Israel. But so we're outside with our banner because one of the agents inside did a text and said, kill them all, talking about the left in the United States that stands with Palestine. So we were outside saying, do you feel safe with somebody in your office that said kill them all? Usually the FBI investigates, nothing's happened to them. So we're just outside. Now, I've been in Beverly Hills protesting since October 8th. I mean, I was right there as soon as Susan Sarandon got fired from her agency. We did a march through Beverly Hills, so I know what the counter protests there feel like. The cops were there. They were across the street. There was no counter protest, even though we'd publicized it, press releases, the thing was out, no counter protest. And we did it at lunch hour. So as everyone's coming out for their lunch hour, we can talk to them. And for every person that said, how do you feel about this guy upstairs, who said kill them all? Not a person could look me in the face. And we had a lot of young people with us, and they were shocked that even young people, like, no one answered and no one looked at us. And I was thinking, to dehumanize another, you already have to be dehumanized. You have to be dehumanized to dehumanize another. And I had seen Sinners the other night, and I thought, oh, they're zombies. So everybody should see Sinners, because it's a movie about this moment that is brilliant. It is about racism. It is about how we are behaving. It is a little bit about zombies. And like, after seeing that, it was like, oh, they think they're alive, but they're dead. They're just zombies. So it's my new word is Zionist zombies. So it helped me not get triggered by them, and also just to see in a sad way who they are and what's really true about why they can't look or answer a question about something that's serious. So that was our bridge into starting this meeting. So first, just welcome, those of you just coming, make sure you put in the chat where you're from, put your feet on the ground, take a deep breath, really stop and take a breath. We are human. We are blessed by all the blessings of the earth, the air, the sun, the water, the soil. So in this breath, why don't we just breathe it in and feel gratitude? Feel the gratitude for this breath, that you can believe it, that you have life. And breathe out love. And then take in another breath to really feel the blessing. And breathe out as you feel the gratitude. And as Marie offers a piece of culture, a poem to start our day.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is a poem called Small Things by a poet, Carolyn Mellor. What if there is no new you? No hashtag van life, mountain vista, no trail of dust, no grand rebirth? What if your life is a more slow, uncoiling thing than a series of bangs, a bowl to fill and fill rather than a bucket list? Stop looking for the big moments. They will find you in their own time. Turn your gaze instead to the small things, the minutiae of the sacred ordinary, the quiet grace of dust dancing in the sunbeams, the sound of the rain through the street lamps, the soft smell of the skin on someone's neck that takes you home in a microsecond. What if you could take your one messy, complicated life, all of your failures and all your unmet yearnings, all of the colors, the dreams, and the hungers, and just for a moment, see it for what it is, a fragmentary masterpiece of the universe, a speck of dust dancing in the sunbeams, which you alone hold in warm cupped hands.
Thank you, Marie. What a great way to start what we're going to talk about today. So first, I want to invite our new folks to raise their hand, and I'll call on you so you can say hi to everybody and what you're looking for by joining us in our community. Val, can I start with you? Val Live Oak. What a great name.
Yes, I've been working with a group, another online group with Friends Peace Teams on peace economy issues. And some of us have attended some of your events. It's the first time for me. And what you had for the discussion question today was of great interest to me.
Cool.
My work, my main work these days is gleaning from stores, getting rid of their stuff and taking it over to Catholic Worker House in San Antonio.
Sorry, what's it? Where do you do this? I didn't hear your city.
San Antonio.
Oh, San Antonio, Texas. Fantastic. Thanks, Val. That sounds amazing. I love that. We should do a little piece on you. That's a great, perfect, because I wanted to talk about, how to make it relational and small enough to do, because everybody wants to do bigger. So I just want to celebrate you for what you're doing. Thank you. Anyone else new that wants to share here? Mesa?
Hi everyone, I'm Mesa. I'm in Boulder, Colorado, and I guess I studied nonviolence and peace building in school, and then for the last few years I've been working in the bridge building sector, so sort of depolarizing politics. And my theory of change is that it all happens locally. So I have my local peace economy workbook and I love it. You guys did such a good job with this. And yeah, I'm just happy to meet everybody and be in circles like this. So thanks for having me. Thanks for doing this.
Great to have you, Mesa. let's see, is there anyone else who's new here that wants to share what brought them? So I know some of you from other calls, so I'm not sure who's signed up. Like, which community am I part of today? Jackie, are you new?
Hi, yeah, I signed on. My partner signed up for this session, and we both work with JVP, and I also work on health justice with Progressive Maryland.
Fantastic. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, is there anybody else that wants to share before I start into pivots? Not seeing it, there'll be time later. So before I start on pivots, I just want to reflect on the last meeting that I missed, but that Marie worked with everybody about, like how we can, what people need that are here and how we can support those needs. So one thing that Marie said is more local support. So we have an onboarding once a month at CODEPINK. So if you are looking to do something locally and there isn't a local where you are, first start with the onboarding at CODEPINK, and then, you know, Jasmine is there to help you, Danica is there to help you to kind of build, learn how to organize, learn all of that. As we know, cultivating a local peace economy makes you the better organizer. So these are integrated, but that's where the structure exists to support folks locally, and that's Jasmine and Danica's task. So that's the place to go there, which is, you know, all about organizing and how to build locally. Marie will start including in the messages that go out what the next onboarding is. Speakers, Marie and I are going to work on some speakers. I've discovered this amazing woman that has a process. You know, we have the bookmark. She has cards about pivoting out of the anxiety. And she's spent her life, 50 years of her life as a professor on exactly this subject, and come up with a process of moving ourselves through anxiety, fear, flight into being available, which is kind of where we're trying to be with the peace economy. When we cultivate a peace economy, we move out of the anxiety into the space of being human together. So she's going to join us as soon as her schedule opens up, which is a big treat. But we'll keep working on, maybe like every other one, having a speaker. Marie says we're now into bigger breakout groups, given, you know, everybody's desire for them with longer times. And, you know, having it, I just want to say, sometimes Marie writes me at midnight, I'm still got it open. So, so I love that the conversations go on and on and on. So, you know, just the deep gratitude that you care and love each other and learn from each other. That's what this space is for. So pivoting, I want to start this conversation with something, you know, where we are in history. We are in a place that has never existed before in history, and that's today and tomorrow and the next day. Every single day right now, the change is happening at such a rapid rate that it's every day is different. So our capacity to be, you know, the peace economy, the giving, sharing, caring, thriving, relational, resilient economy. So when we talk about being able to be out of flight, that's the resilience to be able to meet what is available and not get triggered by it, be able to trust ourselves in relationship to it. You know, that's what we build when we're building a local peace economy, is that relationship too. And the war economy forces us into brittleness, into fear, into uncertainty, into non-trust, into isolation. So, you know, practicing the local peace economy helps us to have that resilience to meet exactly this moment in history. And also it is about meeting, you know, we've too much the war economy creates boxes that then take us away from being in relationship with life. relationship with each other. So I want to, just start there. And then in looking at where we are now, back 50 years ago, there was a management guy who wrote a book, and he was trying to describe to people how they be effective. And one of the things I thought I took from what he wrote was that we all have a circle of influence, and it's very small. You think about your circle of influence, and we'll talk about this a little more. But your circle of influence, and as an activist, I've always dealt with this because, people are always like, I want to change my Aunt Helen, I want to change the world. Like, your circle of influence is what's around you. That's why the local peace economy is so important, is to remind us that this is our circle of influence. So this is the circle of influence, and it's very small. And it used to be our circle of care and concern was very big. We could care about world peace. We could care about, when I was young, that I had to eat everything on my plate because, children in China were starving. Like, we had a big heart, and it was okay to have a big heart. It was an area of concern, but it's all been contorted. Instead of having concern, all of a sudden we feel responsible for things we have absolutely no fingers on, right? But that ties us into knots, makes us anxious, makes us feel ineffective, makes us feel inadequate, makes us feel lots of horrible feelings, guilty, shame, like all kinds of shit that isn't love. When those things are coming, I say they're not love. They're like layers of crust that come on top of our empathetic hearts, instead of being able to be in the space of concern. So I really want us to feel that, because the war economy, this empire thinking culture that we live inside of, has done this to us on purpose. Because if it can make us feel all these things, it's going to shut us up, right? It's going to force us to just feel inadequate and be quiet and just crawl under the rug. So I want us to have these spaces to look at that are very easy. My circle of influence is what I can touch. Now, I want to say something that's happened to that circle of concern in these 50 years since this guy wrote it. Do you know, for most people, the circle of concern has shrunk a lot of times just to themselves. That's what individualism looks like. So the circle of concern has shrunk. And the circle of what people conceive as influence has grown with social media, right? Because we think we have a circle of influence because everybody we tag or everybody that likes us, or, so we've kind of distorted our psyche to believing that our circle of influence is super big, and our circle of care, our circle of concern is really shrunk. So when we're talking about pivot, like, sometimes it's a good place to just start with, where is my circle of influence? Where is my circle of care? And that's your concern. What you affect, I call it the butterfly, right? What you affect comes from where you are rooted, what you value, and what you live your life out of. So the war economy forces us to live our life out of greed and need and climbing all over each other and, all right, this hunger. But if we're actually rooted, like we're working on in the local peace economy and caring for each other, that itself is an effect. That itself is cultivating a future that is rooted in something fresh and new and related to life. Because if we look at what the war economy has done, how it's grabbed our lives and used it to be extractive, destructive, and oppressive, if we take ourselves off of that, pivot to cultivating a peace economy, that effect happens with our breath. That effect happens every time we pivot. Every time we pivot away from giving our life to the war economy and pivot to cultivating a peace economy, a future rooted in peace, that is a fact. So I'm saying all this before we get to pivots so that we're rooted in the way there. So then we get to the pivots, right? I'm going to take myself off my background screen so I can show this, and you can see my dining room and the sign behind me that I will not raise my children to kill another mother's child. So why we have the bookmark, why you have the place on the website, or why you have the place in the book, is this is the most important part of this. If it's the part to start. Whenever you feel anxiety, shame, anything that isn't love, anything that doesn't serve your empathy, practice peace. And the reason there's like the things that you're forced to is so it helps you have the thing that you could pivot to. I'm feeling isolation. I'm feeling transactional. I'm feeling these things. I'm watching myself do this. Just pivot to the other practice. Just pivot. And as we know, as soon as you pivot, there's some kind of liberation that happens, some kind of deepening into, oh, right, I'm human. Oh, right, I don't have to do that. Oh, right, that's the control place. I have choice. I mean, at the main thing, it's like, I have choice. I am not owned by that. I have choice every moment to pivot myself away from serving that, being used by that, being covered with shit by that, to shake it off and create something fresh, serve life, serve my community, serve vibrancy, serve, so it's actually this simple. And yet I know I want to just acknowledge with everyone, it's hard because we have really deep addictions, and addictions are hard to break. And we think that is life. So fight and flight and these behaviors have been happening our whole lives, right? I mean, they get triggered when we're kids, the behaviors of the child, so I know that everyone has a place in their life where they've recognized a behavior that doesn't serve them. We all have them, right? And we've worked on them. The thing about this is you don't have to work on the behavior. You just have to pivot to the new practice, because we're literally, that muscle has been worked and worked and worked, that addiction muscle, but to unwork it is just to practice something that's more beautiful. It's not to break something. It's not even to pay attention to it. It's really to pivot. It's like, okay, I'm just going to pivot to something else. And I find what happens is we try to make it hard. We try to make it an end result. Part of what the war economy is engendered in us, instead of the very simple act of having friends over and saying, what can we do together? I mean, we've lost the value of the simplest acts. And I just want to take us one that blows me away right now. It's like, watch Ms. Rachel. She is a local peace economy genius. So, because she lives in the simple, it's because she's talking to kids, but they're humans, and we're all humans. And we've been, convinced that there's this huge complication. But it's why we go back to, what did we learn in kindergarten? Because that's how we get along as humans. And we've lost the value of being human together to be caught up in the complexities of what we don't even have our fingers on. So, I think, watch Miss Rachel, whatever social media you have, first of all, love her. Because what has this woman done? She's said the simplest of things. Feed the children in Gaza. And what happened to her? She got attacked. What did she do with that attack? She felt it. We all got to feel it with her. She was crying. She filmed herself crying. She filmed herself experiencing the violence of the war economy. We felt that with her. That was brutal. And then what did she do? She called them out. She's like, well, this is not how you treat people. So she was able to take everyone through the journey of actually feeling all the way through to where right now her most recent thing, well, not most recent, the one before, holding the young Palestinian 3-year-old in her arms, she did a 2-page social media shaming those in power in a most beautiful way. Those acts are all very simple. Now, what does she have? She has influence, but she built that influence by trust. She built that influence speaking truth. She built that influence being a person caring, that parents trusted. She's the Mr. Rogers of our time. But what did she do? Like Mr. Rogers, if you look in wartime, like John Lennon and Yoko Ono, that go, oh, I have influence. How do I use that right now? And she modeled it for all of us. And I think what we want to pay attention to is how simple it was. How very, very simple. That the tuning fork for humanity is simple. And she just kept pivoting to what is it to be human and how do I be that right now and speak from it. And so, like Val, like, oh, I see waste. I'm going to go take that waste and deliver it where it can be useful. When Val said that, I wanted to cry. It's like, yes, that's huge and simple. And so sometimes it's like, how do we just be with, okay, bringing 8 friends into my living room, going around saying, what values do we live out of? And where do we live? And what's some very simple thing we can do? I mean, you can go to a farmer's market and sing peace songs. It's like, it's the magical that matters. It's like, not that it's been done before. It's like what comes out of, the very, very first circle we did. I can't remember how long ago it was, but what had just happened was a terrorist attack in Riverside. And everybody sat there and was like, what do we do here? And the woman said, well, you know what? I realize I don't know a Muslim. And they said, okay, we're going to get a restaurant to give us a night. We're going to invite Muslims, Jews, Christians, and we're going to have a peace table. And at our one, like 40 people came and we had conversations together because we realized we didn't know each other. And that peace table in LA went on for, I think, 2 years. But like what happens here is we were all together in our communities and people loved the idea and they did it in their community. And Cincinnati picked it up. There was a terrorist attack in Cincinnati. That peace table came right away to everyone's support when the terrorist attack happened. So they were ready. So like I've said about LA, our mutual aid was ready so that LA didn't feel a trauma, it felt a connective tissue. So whatever we're building is the thing that becomes ready for no matter what happens. And so it's not about, is it the right thing? If it's the thing you see, it is. You've just birthed something new. Whatever it is, it's new and it's fresh and it's alive and it's serving life. And then you got to share it. That's why I said, Val, share the story. Let's get you on, let's do a TikTok with you, or let's, so people are just looking for things to do. And I think I did local peace economy because I wanted it to be bite-sized enough for someone just entering. My buddies have like big projects about like, sharing it, how do we all share the same, solar panels or, energy systems, or like, ooh, people can't enter there. And then when people enter, leadership arises and you find next things you want to do. So the pivot is where you start though. The pivot is, learning to recognize the things that get layered on you that aren't serving you, aren't serving love, aren't serving life, and go, okay, what do I want to pivot to? That moment is surprising. Who need, what's happening in this local peace economy in my community that I can just go serve? Because like I say, local peace economy is like a language. Immersion is the best way. Go immerse yourself for somebody, because then you're in the messiness that somebody else is already, because remember, community's messy. We humans were messy, so it's fun to like go where somebody's been already creating the structure of trust and holding, so that you kind of like inside of it, you can you can recognize your habits, you can recognize your addictions, you can breathe through it and go, oh, wow. Lynn, I see your hands up.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is for simple, what you were saying, okay? And it started from a rally way back with Raging Grannies. Were you ever part of? Okay, with the Raging Grannies. And then anyway, this is the latest though. What I've learned is all the answers lie within. There's no more reason for violence and warring. So I wanted to go, no more lies and no more greed. We want a new paradigm to be free. No more lies, no more greed. All the answers are inside that we need. Where's the inner peace police jobs now? Pay people to help each other find the answers within. Answers within. Stop the violence and warring. Amen. Amen.
Fabulous, Lynn. Thank you. Writing music, thank you, and the drum. Yes, reactionary to investigate. Thank you, Joy. Yes, reactionary to investigate, and that is a really, really, really good one. And also, when we open up ourselves to those questions, from being reactionary, which closes us down and puts us in a box, to investigate, that liberation of the opening the questions. And, I love it when people report back to me like, did you know there's answers? We then realize we don't even ask questions, because reacting isn't serving. Asking the questions and investigating is. It's kind of like, oh, the Zionist zombies, it's like me going, oh, wow, that really is, that's really a zombie. And you can feel, because even in the reactionary to investigative, it takes you into your compassion, because once you investigate, you find the complexity they're locked in, or, Zionism is 100-year-old intention to oppress people. And from the very minute that was its goal, and it had to occupy minds, it had to lie, it had to layer us in propaganda, it had to own culture. It's billions and billions of dollars in 100 years. And I was talking to a donor today, and he's just like, well, nothing's happening. And I'm like, I don't know where you're standing. Where I'm standing, it's cracking. I mean, this thing that's been built for 100 years, it's cracking. And not only can I tell it's cracking, but, people that are holding on to the little island that it's become are desperate. They used to yell at me. They don't even yell at me anymore, because they know they have nothing to say. They just go into the zombie mode. They're hiding out, and they're like the other people you can see, they're posting as fast as they can about how right they are, using more lies and more lies. It's like they're desperate. We're watching global media. I mean, people like, look at this courage. We all right now need to feel the courage of those 12 people on that flotilla, and the fact that we can track it, the fact that all our energies, last night at 2 a.m., like tracking with everybody globally, and I'm feeling super connected, because that's where it's like, that's where the love is. Like, that's where I'm like, I'm blowing love, like love. We're surrounding them with this, like this arc of love. And then it's a space where people can say something positive, care for these people as they go to do what I want to do, because don't we all want to run to the border of Gaza and feed someone, right? That lives inside of every one of us. So the fact that there are 12 people carrying our energy, carrying our desire to be in Gaza feeding someone and say, thank you so much. So seeing it not from fear. And this is really important. This is really important as we watch a senator say, you know, you're going to be attacked and I hope you can swim. Witness that as the violence that is in your Congress and Senate. Please, when you witness that, take yourself away from giving them any of your energy. If that is what your Congress and Senate is, please turn your back to it. And engage yourself locally. That is the answer to that. But what's happening, where it is like 12 people made a conscious choice to put their lives on the line, knowing that other people who have done this have been killed, knowing that Bibi Netanyahu puts a target on your back if you care for Palestinians and you want to help them. So it's to honor the choice that was made by these people. And in honoring it, just to cover them with love, right? We have no idea what's going to happen. But, you know, being a nonviolent direct activist means you are peace. You are the essence of peace. And you know that exposes violence. And as Gandhi taught us, that doesn't mean they are going to be peaceful. It means you are going to expose the violence for others to see. So those 12 people know this. But what's coming behind it is the march. Same team that we've been building the Gaza flotilla with for the last decade is supporting the march. I want you all to know, throw these people some energy. They are genius organizers. For me, this is the most genius organizing that I've ever been part of in my life. The layers upon layers upon layers of how do you take care of each other is part of this. Everybody who's going on the march has to be self-responsible. To get to the place where they can even be looked at, they've had to do all these layers to show they're self-responsible. They have to show they're healthy. They have to have 3 recommenders that say, yes, this person is going to be good. You're not going to have to take care of them. They are going to care for others. You get through the gauntlet, you've got to come up with the money. You have to know that you're going to get to Cairo and they are not going to like you. You could get hurt in Cairo. Medea's shoulder got broken in Cairo, you know? So you're going into, you don't know what. And then if you get to Cairo and you get to your hotel and the bus gets to pick you up, we don't know where the bus is going to be stopped. And when the bus is stopped, we're going to get off the bus and we're going to walk across the desert. And we don't have water or tents or food. So you bring your water, your tent, and your food and take care of each other. So, but what does it mean to the rest of the world that you put your life on the line? So what do you do locally with this? You find, Lynn, I hope you're going to be out at the farmer's market on the 15th, playing your drum and singing your song. Others, you can be out marching in the street, singing songs, marching somewhere, you know, like check in with CODEPINK or start your own thing and let us know what you're doing. On the 15th is probably when it's going to be really gnarly. The 14th, we're all going to be at the No More Kings rallies, bringing Palestine messaging to these Democratic Party events that never seem to think about, that are for social justice, but never seem to think Palestinians are included in that messaging, which means they're all full of shit. But we don't need to tell them that. We just need to bring the messaging ourselves. We are the answer. So we don't need to make people wrong. And so we show up. So the 14th, we show up at the marches, bringing our Palestinian stickers, bringing our Palestinian message. The next day, we're marching in the streets because so it's like being able to look and go, okay, what do I do where I am? How do I bring my community together and make something beautiful happen? Betsy Rose just sent me a note. She says, I'm going to be singing in the streets. I'm like, go, gal. You know, it's just like, let it inspire the beauty in you. Here's this inspired person that's willing to take on this what do you want to do locally? This is a great time to organize locally, because out of that, your peace economy could happen. Out of that, bring your peace economy, bring your local together. Out of after doing it together, maybe you'll go, oh, let's do this locally. So with that, I know we're really, really, really far into the conversation, but I hope I've planted some seeds, and that folks, know that it's simple. You've got your bookmark, you've got your book, you've got the website. Whenever, okay, where do I go to pivot? This is not serving me. But take the time to cry. When it's grief, take the time to cry and go for the support of the grief. The grief means you are still human. The grief is important. The grief is to be valued. Grief, you'll go through it, you'll come out the other side, and you will be, I want to say, more useful to those you care for, because you've been through the grief, and you can help them through. Cynthia, welcome, Cynthia.
Hi, everybody. I put my comment, I put my question in the chat, but I could ask you, if you want me to. I just wanted to ask about the BBC's refusal to publish the documentary Gaza Medics Under Fire.
We have a campaign against BBC on that. I think did you get your alert today?
I did, yes. And so I'm already doing a piece on media and their bias against the people of Gaza.
Oh,
and
have you seen our hashtag media detox campaign?
No, but I'm writing it down.
Okay. So go to the hashtag Palestine. Under our media campaign, we have a bunch of media targets, but our hashtag, it's called a media violence detox. So here's the media is bad. So how do we help the media be better? Because they were made dumb and they're forced to do this. I have to tell you a really quick story of a victory. So we did this media detox at CBS to the head of CBS. It worked. They changed and they let a bunch of things happen that was being shut down. 60 Minutes, Colbert, let a bunch of good things happen. The woman got fired because of the Zionist woman who owns Paramount. So I'm sorry for the woman. I'm appreciative that she reached out. I'm sorry it got her fired. Everybody who's an anti-Zionist is getting fired right now. She'll be okay, because she stood on the right side of history. We can't, it's I'm sorry you lost your job, but what should matter to people is you stood on the right side of history, not fucking Matt Miller, who then comes out and said, I know I was lying. That does not excuse you. You quit your job and you tell people, you're not a hero. Please don't make Matt Miller a hero because he, copped to the fact he was lying. But this media detox worked. And so you should look at it, Cynthia. Also, we did an action yesterday, which was also at the, WME. If you look at our Instagram, my video is up from yesterday, which I talked about earlier, the Zionist zombies. So if you want to reach out to me, I run that campaign. So I run it with Entertainment Labor for Palestine.
I do. This is what I'm doing. I'm just doing a piece on it. It's just one article for Islamic Horizons, but we do have a big viewership. And I do think this is an important message. People really need to know how biased the media is and how
we have a whole teach-in on it. So
okay.
All right.
I definitely need the resources. So please get in touch with me.
Right. No, you have to write me.
I will.
Just write to peaceeconomy@codepink.org and I get it. And that way Marie can make sure I see it too.
Peaceeconomy@codepink.org. That's I believe I already have your email.
Yeah, that's how you got here.
Yes. Okay.
So I don't want to take up any more time because it's time for you to be together and share. I planted some seeds. And I'm off to China tomorrow, so I don't know if I'll be with you next time. We'll probably have a speaker, and I'll be back for the one after that. So
Jodie, do you have a prompt you want to send people away with?
Yeah. Actually, I'd like the prompt to come out of the community. What seed was planted that you all can support each other in coming to support for each other? we've talked about a lot. Joe put in the chat, the prompt that the pivot she wanted to talk about. Was there a pivot that you're struggling with? Is there something you're like, help each other in what just got planted? If that sounds right, because there's just so much I just said. I don't want to take us anywhere else. And maybe it's, what do we do on the 14th? What do I want to do in the 14th in the community where I live? And make plans together and support each other in making that happen, because we're all marchers for peace, right? And so local peace economy meets how to be engaged with Palestine, and that's how we show how these things work together. Because being an engaged activist in the local peace economy, they are one, and each is, a side of the other. So deepest gratitude to all of you. I love you so much.
I wanted to remind people before we go into breakouts that these are there's no ending time. We won't be coming back to this main space. You just talk until you need to leave, or the conversation has a natural end. But I leave the breakout rooms open until every single person has left. That's what Jodie was saying earlier about it being midnight, and sometimes people are still talking for 4 hours, like 3 and 4 hours later. So, which is lovely and wonderful, and we want to encourage it. That is not a problem for me to leave my computer open, plugged in, and just waiting for people to have their conversations. So, I'm thankful and grateful for each one of you for being here, and I'm going to stop the recording.